Continuing with the kettlebell tutorials and breaking down different kettlebell movements. Today I'm going to look at overhead stability. And since I started doing these videos last week, I'm getting great responses, great questions. I'm going to do my best to address all what I consider the best questions that are going to offer the most value. And this is just how I'm doing what I can to contribute to the unity of the world. We're moving out of this competitive model. We got to work and move into the cooperative model, remembering that we're all brothers and sisters. We all come from just a few tribes, and the way forward for humanity is to help each other out and not just be based in the ego, but to understand that we're all connected. All right, so I'm sharing some of my love with all of you, and if it helps one of you, you take that, you use it, and you pay it forward and help somebody else. And that's how we're gonna move things forward. So today I'm gonna take an excellent question from my brother Lucius. He's out in Oklahoma City. He's an amazing strength conditioning coach. He's also the strength coach for the great Rafael Lovato. If you're a jiu-jitsu fan, you know who that is. Bellator middleweight champion. And so Lucius, he is green strength IV. His question to me came in the video I did on the windmill tutorial, and it is, Sensei, what are your favorite prerequisites or ways of demonstrating the true mobility needed to perform overhead windmills, etc.? So that's a great question, very valuable, and I'm going to address that. There's always more than one way we can do things, but I'm going to address that through a great exercise, which is mobility and stability for the shoulder girdle. It's called the Kettlebell Armbar. Now, I'm going to keep it with the theme of the martial artist. Okay, you're looking for the martial. What is the application? How are you using the mechanics? And ultimately, how can it transfer in your ability to fight, to flight, to defend yourself, and so on. Now, sometimes we're doing a movement which is a direct transfer, but other times that's not the goal. So in this movement, I'm putting myself in a situation that I actually would never want to be in. However, it's important to be able to train ourselves and strengthen ourselves in disadvantageous positions, what I call positions of compromise, because life is going to put us in difficult situations that we didn't train specifically for that, and that's where your training comes out and helps us to overcome these difficulties. So it's the same in training, in physical training. And so what I'm doing is putting myself in a mechanically disadvantageous position, which is going to challenge the mobility, and I have to learn to stabilize to avoid injury. And that's called the kettlebell armbar. So the setup's going to be like a Turkish get-up. The setup like the get-up. So I put that in, and I bring it and I lock it. Okay, so this would be like a get-up, but now this maintains that vertical alignment. Okay, so the rotation is in the shoulder itself, and I'm really loading the rotator cuffs and strengthening. Okay, so from here, I want to keep fixed and I cross over. Now, depending on my mobility, this may be about the range. And see here, this hand, this is blocking. That's kind of blocking me. So maybe that's my range, and oh yeah, I feel that, and I release. Okay, I'm going to do a few reps in just a few seconds in each position. So it's here, and I release. Okay. Now, obviously, you don't want to ever be put in an arm bar. So you don't want to be in this kind of situation and someone like locking your arm or Kimura. However, jiu-jitsu is going to put us in positions that we don't necessarily like. We have to solve the riddle. Okay, and life is going to do the same. So we got to solve the riddle. So basically, I'm developing that flexibility, but I don't want this. Okay, we're talking about overhead stability here. So I need to be stable. I don't want the kettlebell to pull me into this overextended position, because that's going to create the injury. That's going to cause a lot of problems. So I have to maintain the stability and move my body. Okay. Now, if you look at the mechanics, the biomechanics, and you read about it, you're going to hear about degrees of stability, mobility. So when we're doing rotation, we want to have the rotation in the thoracic. Okay, we don't want to have rotation so much in the lumbar. And so really I want this thoracic location, this thoracic rotation, okay, where I can actually bring my hips stable, and then I have that rotation here. However, that being said, I like to do it different ways. Okay, I like to actually work also with my hip off the ground, which is going to put a lot of loading here as well. So just be intentional in what you're doing and why you're doing it. I'm going to be here, lock it out, cross it over. This hand blocks. Now, if that's my range, I try to bring my shoulder towards this space on the floor, keeping my eyes here, keeping this from moving. Touch it down, the arm blocks me, and back. Now, as the range of motion increases, this arm here, it opens like the hand on a clock. So now I open, I have more space. That's going to let me move through a greater range. And I keep challenging. I can open even more here. My hands all the way back. And so on. Okay, so I can really challenge my range, but I have to maintain the control. Okay, so that's the idea of the kettlebell armbar. Don't try to go real heavy, even if you're very strong with overhead pressing. It's not meant to strengthen so much. It's meant to stabilize and work the mobility. So I like using 16 kilogram. 16 kilograms is pretty much enough for everybody. You can start with lighter weight, build up to that. Don't try to do the heaviest kettlebell you can hold. Okay, do one that you know you can control.